Hello, I'm Quartermuncher. Welcome to the Quartermuncher experience, where I play RPGs I put off for too long. The real name of the game here is Pokemon Sword. Gonna catch them all. I started out with 88 caught in Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, carried over to Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Legends Arceus, totaling in about 400, close to about 1,000. Pokemon Sword is the 4th game on my list out of originally 5, now 6 games to play to catch them all. A lot of them are middle evolutions that I simply need some time to add to the list alongside the usual evolving catching of the new generation. Let's get to it. This isn't a review, this is a journey. Let me tell you about the Quartermuncher experience. Pokemon Sword is a creature-collecting JRPG developed by Game Freak. It's the 8th generation of Pokemon and introduces to the Galar region, a British-inspired world with stadium-style batters and larger-than-life gym showcases. Unlike other Pokemon games, which are just a remake or a spin-off, Game Freak streamlined animations and built a world with more verticality and visibility. They've also introduced the Wild Area, a pseudo-open world that influenced later games like Legends Arceus and Scarlet and Violet. Galar is based off of the UK, so you've got Victorian cities, industrial hubs, snowy northlands, and stadiums. Characters include Hop, your overeager rival, Leon, the current champion, Marnie, Team Yell, and Bede, characters who are, you can call them rivals, but they also have more distinct arcs than those in Pokemon's past. Each town in Galar has something of a themed identity. Whether it be Turfield's rolling farmlands, Motostoke's industrial furnace vibe, Hammerlock's medieval fantasy city, or Chichester's snow-covered resort, they all have their own thing going on. They're compact, stylish, and a lot of them have gyms in them, which, well, you need to get to if you're playing Pokemon. Pokemon doesn't have traditional dungeons, but it does have, sub-routes, Galar mines, wild areas, subzones, stadium interiors, energy plants, etc., that are linear, short, filled with encounters and trainers, and if you're doing a gym, there will be a gym battle. As far as the story in Pokemon Sword goes, it's very bare bones. You're a Pokemon journey who's going from rookie to champion while unraveling Galar's hidden history, and getting your 8 badges, completing the Pokedex, etc. In Pokemon Sword, you'll catch Pokemon, fight trainers, level up, evolve, complete gyms, conquer the champion cup. Streamlined, comfortable, designed for rhythm rather than difficulty, it's the standard classic Pokemon formula with a couple additions. Mostly, these are Dynamax battles, temporary giant forms with boosted HP, and maybe max moves. With that said, most of the progression and extra stuff we'll be doing here is catching all the extra Pokemon, mostly through the wild area and or the story. Pokemon Sword's graphics are bright, clean, cartoonish 3D. It's rather fitting for a Pokemon game. It's not cutting edge, it's more charming, and you throw in Galar's aesthetics with regional flair and varied biomes, and it looks good. Presentable, at least. Gym battles feel like sporting events with cheering crowds. Cutscenes use cinematic camera angles that Pokemon rarely leaned into before Generation 8. The difficulty curve is a bit standard. It's easy early on, but the final championship battles spikes rather nicely. Technically speaking, the Pokemon Sword runs smoothly at 30 frames per second. Online connectivity can be janky in the wild area, but it is perfectly fine offline. I never had any technical issues with Pokemon Sword, so that's that. In my playthrough of Pokemon Sword, I went to all 8 gyms and got all 8 badges while furthering my Pokemon journey trying to catch them all. I caught about 3 out of 400, but this is before opening the post-game where I'm used to there being Pokemon being more available, as well as the DLC. I chose Scorbunny as my starter, but in the end, Aegislash and Luxray were my main Pokemon of choice. As far as things I liked and didn't like, one thing I definitely liked about Pokemon Sword was Team Yell. Every Pokemon game has a team of villains. Sometimes they're organized crime, sometimes they're well-meaning extremists, but here, they're just excited fans of your rival and just jerks trying to impede you so she can win. It's decent motivation as far as Pokemon is concerned. I also liked Galar. It was inspired by England, and everything from the towns to the stadiums to the smaller details, the world building was actually felt in a number of places, and you don't normally see that in a Pokemon game. As far as things I didn't like Dynamaxing. Kaiju-sized Pokemon are cool as a one-off gimmick, but I've always preferred, and definitely miss, Mega Evolutions. I also dislike the wild area. I call this section Gonna Catch 'Em All because there's a grand total of over 1,000 Pokemon at this point, and Sword has a decent chunk of them. A chunk of them are all located in the wild area. See, my Pokemon journeys are from A to B. You have your Pokemon starting town and they end wherever the Pokemon League is with the series of monsters in between. Having to backtrack is one thing, but it's a pain to specifically catch any monster in the wild area just due to its sheer size, weather, etc. I also disliked rivals. You see, I miss Gary Oak / Blue. His smell you later attitude combined with him picking the starter Pokemon yours is weak against set him up as a regular rival antagonist in a Pokemon game. What's bugged me since then is that some Nintendo executive feels like that was way too harsh, and as such they've since dialed down the aggression. My issue is that for a good rivalry, you need a rivalry, and Sword's Hop is not the worst rival, but I wish your main adversary was your main adversary. The best part of Pokemon Sword is the soundtrack. Not only does everything just about sound fitting, I'd say it's the best soundtrack Pokemon has had in years. By far the best song in the game has to be the boss theme for general gym battles. It actually has this bit of segment that sounds like a crowd cheering for you, which really, I want to tie that back into the whole world building of Pokemon Sword being sort of a sporting event. The worst part of Pokemon Sword is the story. This is a Pokemon game, so story was never going to be its forte. You get 8 badges and beat the Pokemon League, just like the others. However, this isn't including surprise, evil, comical villains that I can't take seriously, let alone the sudden big bad, who is perfectly aware his grand evil scheme could have happened without our heroes interrupting if he had only waited one whole day. That goes into the what not to do if you're a villain book for me. Alright, now it's time for Pokemon Sword by the numbers. This is the 4th game out of 6 total Pokemon games. I have 300 out of 400 Pokemon left in this game. This game took me about 30 hours to complete the main game. However, this is only part 1 of 2. Next time we're going to be doing Pokemon Sword, the DLC, in the back half of the game. So the Quartermuncher experience this time is not over. But until then, ta-ta.